Caseus, Jedi Master. Chapter 17. Liara woke up the following morning. She noticed the ship wasn't moving.
Master? Pip?
She heard no response as she stood and changed into her normal outfit. Heading to the ramp of the ship, she opened it up and shielded her eyes from a bright light. When her eyes adjusted, she saw a familiar sight. Large, open fields of grain and farmland, and a small town in the distance. Dantooine. Her eyes widened as she stepped off, feeling the touch of soft grass beneath her feet.
Hey, look who's awake!
Pip walked out from under the wing of the ship with a wrench.
Pip, where's Caseus?
Right over there.
Pip pointed to Caseus, who stood in the middle of the field with a holoprojector. Zenka, make sure the intel gets through to Mon Mothma.
I will. Thank you again, Caseus. And please, do reconsider our offer.
I appreciate it, but I can't make any decisions yet. May the Force be with you. Caseus put his projector away as Liara walked over.
Caseus, what are we doing back on Dantooine?
Caseus looked at Liara and smiled softly. You'll see. From the distant town, Liara saw a speeder approaching at high speeds, with 2 passengers inside. Her heart skipped a beat as she ran over. Exiting the speeder was Kala and her uncle Dogan.
Mom! Liara!
Kala and Dogan hugged Liara tightly as joyful tears flowed down their cheeks.
You've gotten so big.
Liara laughed and wiped her eyes as Caseus walked over. Kala looked up at him and smiled.
Caseus.
Hello, Kala. It's good to see you.
When we got your transmission, we couldn't believe it. But here you are. Both of you. What brings you back here?
Caseus' smile turned slightly downward. I'm here to give Liara the choice she deserved to have a long time ago. Liara looked at Caseus.
What do you mean?
Caseus walked to Liara and put his hands on her arms, looking her in the eyes. Liara, you are one of the smartest, kindest, and most gifted Jedi I've ever had the honor of knowing. But these past few days, I've realized that maybe I'm not the best teacher. It's become clear to me that I bring trouble wherever I go. I've taught you what you need to know to keep yourself and your family safe. You have more control over your abilities than most students your age. I'm offering you the chance to return to your family. Liara was at a loss for words as she looked at her mother and back to Caseus.
I don't know what...
It's okay. I'll give you some time to think. Take the day. Spend time with your family. But I need to speak with your mother first. Okay? Liara nodded. Her eyes were full of confusion as she walked over to her uncle and began to catch up. Kala stood in front of Caseus.
Caseus, I don't know what to say. Liara, she...
I know. But I think she deserves this. The choice I never had when I was her age. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I'd never been found by the Jedi. If my life would have been easier. Safer. Go with her. Spend the day with her. She's earned that much. Kala nodded and hugged Caseus. By the way, how is Sabo? Kala's gaze turned somber. She said nothing, but Caseus knew. He shut his eyes. When?
Last spring. He went peacefully in his sleep. He's buried on his farmland if you'd like to see him.
Caseus nodded and parted with Kala.
I'll talk with her. Find out what she wants.
Caseus nodded and began walking, leaving Liara with her family. After a half hour or so, he crested a hill and saw Sabo's farm in the distance. The house and barn had been taken down and replaced with a large garden of flowers and a small pond. It reminded Caseus a bit of the Room of 1,000 Fountains back at the temple. As he approached, hearing the birds and insects chirping and buzzing, he saw a large gravestone, neatly placed in the dirt, surrounded by flowers. Sabo. Husband, father, friend. Kneeling down, Caseus felt the soil and closed his eyes. Hey, Sabo. I wish I could have seen you again. Looking down, Caseus saw that a couple of weeds had grown around the headstone. Smiling softly, he reached down and began to pluck them from the dirt, bringing up old memories of all the times he had removed weeds from Sabo's garden. You know, when I first met you, I thought all the farm work and labor was so tedious. Compared to how things have been lately, I would kill for my life to be that simple again. You always told me that I should let the past stay in the past. I've struggled with it for a long time. I just couldn't let it go. Couldn't let go of what happened. Of my failures. Maybe that's why I'm such a screw-up. I'm back here to give Liara an opportunity. A chance to go back to the simple life she used to have. Maybe that's not something I can ever have. But she deserves better. You always seemed to have an answer. Even when I didn't like it. Caseus cleared the dirt and dust from the headstone and smiled. I know I'll find my path. Thank you, Sabo. I wouldn't be here without you. From behind him, Caseus heard a metal clank and turned to see Pip had followed him and tripped onto the dirt.
Oops.
Caseus raised an eyebrow and smiled a bit. What are you doing here?
I don't like being cooped up in the ship.
Pip walked over to Caseus and looked at the gravestone.
Who's this?
Caseus smiled and looked at the flowers. An old friend. Just saying goodbye. Pip clinked his metal fingers together and looked at Caseus.
So, if Liara stays, I guess you won't be needing me around.
Caseus looked at the little pet droid.
It's fine. I can find a place here. A little too much grass for my liking, but I'll make it work.
He chuckled a bit. Well, I can't really be a captain without a first mate, can I? Pip looked up excitedly.
Really? I thought you hated me.
Well, you can be obnoxious. But as long as you don't break any more condensers, you're welcome aboard. Pip jumped up and saluted.
I won't let you down, Captain.
Caseus smiled and saluted back, before taking one more look at Sabo's grave. I'll miss you, Sabo. You earned your rest. Caseus and Pip left the garden and began walking their way back to the nebulous. Back in town, Liara entered her old home. A wellspring of comforting emotions rushed through her. She was home again. We left your room just as it was.
Thanks, Dogen. It feels like forever since I've been back.
Liara sat at the table with her mother and uncle. How's your training been?
It's been interesting. I've learned a lot from Caseus. Have you run into much trouble?
Liara ran her fingers through her hair.
Well, more than I'd like. But we made it out every time.
What kind of trouble?
A few bounty hunters. Some common crooks, nothing we couldn't handle.
Kala cupped her drink in her hand and looked to Liara.
Have you given any thought to his offer?
Liara looked at the old wooden table.
I don't know yet. It is a lot of work. And a lot of hiding. Caseus is a great master, but he
what?
He got us into a situation the other day. Things didn't go well. That's all I can say.
Do you trust him?
Of course. But he can be a bit impulsive. He's so stressed out all the time. He's been through a lot in his past, but I don't know. He's so distrustful of everyone we meet. Even people trying to make the galaxy a better place. I want to continue my training. I'm scared that something might happen to us. And we might not be strong enough to deal with it.
Kala looked at Dogen and back to Liara.
Caseus is complicated, Liara. He never told me everything that happened, but I heard enough to know why he's like this. And you're his student. The only one he's ever had. I can't imagine it's been easy for him either. What should I do, Mom? I miss Dantooine so much, but if I stay, I feel like I'm not helping the people I should be helping. Maybe. But fighting the evil in the galaxy, it's too much for anyone. Even Caseus. I can't make your decision for you. He gave you this choice so that you could make it. You choose the path ahead.
Liara thought it over. Both choices would leave a part of her behind.
I'll have my answer in the morning.
Kala took her daughter's hand as Dogen placed his arm around her.
No matter what choice you make, you are my daughter, Liara. And my love will always be with you.
Liara smiled and warmly embraced her family. That evening, after spending the day with her mother and uncle, Liara sat in her bed. She didn't sleep. She needed a place to think. Then she remembered. All those years ago. She knew where she would find her answers. Sneaking out the front door, Liara hopped in her family speeder and rode off into the night. After a while, she drove over a tall hill to a secluded valley and arrived at the Jedi enclave, the same place Caseus had fought Shara. Stepping out of the speeder, she walked inside, little rodents running past her feet. Approaching the courtyard, she saw everything left as it was. The tall tree lying dead in a heap of dried leaves and branches. Finding a patch of soft grass, she sat down and closed her eyes. Breathing in and out, she felt herself drift into a blissful trance. Through the Force, she heard what sounded like faint, echoing whispers. Suddenly, she realized she couldn't hear the birds or the bugs. Opening her eyes, she was shocked to see that the enclave was no longer in disarray. It was beautiful. Perfect even. Then, she noticed something. Sitting on a log was a small green creature, wrinkled and weary.
Hello?
Looking for someone, are you?
Who are you?
Not much these days, am I? A tired old soul. Conflicted, you seem.
I am. I'm training under my master to become a Jedi. But things haven't played out like I thought they would. And my master, he seems so lost. He's given me a chance to return home, here. I want to stay, but not if it means abandoning my master.
Sacred is the bond between master and apprentice. For thousands of generations have the Jedi trained their pupils to be wiser, stronger, To overcome weaknesses they cannot.
What should I do?
Your master. Trust him, do you?
With my life.
And your master? Trust you, does he?
I think so.
More than teacher and learner, you must be. To grow, to understand the true mysteries of the Force. In harmony, you must be. Two beings, one soul.
What if we can't? What if we aren't meant to be master and apprentice?
Failed their students, many masters have. And failed their masters, many students have. A master must nurture his pupil, teach them, care for them. But the student, accept the knowledge the student must. A difficult path it is for both. Meant to be, maybe, maybe not. Ask yourself, you must. See it through, will you? Risk failure for the sake of knowledge and peace? Or stay. Live your life free of the burden of the Jedi way.
Liara thought it over. Caseus hadn't been a perfect master, but he did care for her, and he wanted only what was best for her. Even if he made mistakes, she could help him, just as he helped her.
I know what I must do.
Remember, Liara, not always the teacher is the master. Never too old are we to learn from others.
Liara nodded, but looked up.
Wait, how do you know my name?
The creature smiled kindly and began to fade.
May the Force be with you, Padawan.
Liara woke from her trance as the sun began to rise. She made up her mind. Back at the nebulous, the morning sunlight cast a golden glow over the grasslands as Caseus began to prepare the ship. Anything, Pip? Pip looked through Caseus' macro binoculars towards the town.
Nothing yet.
Caseus looked down and sighed. Perhaps she had made her choice.
Wait!
Caseus looked over his shoulder and saw Liara running towards them. Caseus ran over to meet her.
Sorry I'm late, Master. I had to say goodbye to Mom and Uncle Dogan.
Caseus smiled warmly. Are you sure? I know that I've made some mistakes.
I know. But I had a little time to really think things over. I want to learn from you. And if you'll let me, I want to help you.
Caseus smiled and raised his eyebrows. Then I welcome you as my pupil, Liara. And I will graciously accept your help when I need it. Liara smiled and bowed respectfully to her master, who returned the gesture.
Captain, we're ready to go.
Not just yet, Pip. There's something I need to do first. Caseus looked around, and in the glowing morning sunlight, spotted a tree just over the hill. Walking over to it, Caseus placed a hand upon the bark of the tree, before kneeling down and scooping up handfuls of dirt, making a small hole at the base of the tree. Taking a deep breath, Caseus removed Sarah's Padawan braid from his neck and held it in his hand, staring at the raven black hair one more time before placing it into the soil and gently covering the hole. This is where you wanted us to be. I think it's finally time I let you rest. I love you so much, Sarah. One day I'll see you again. I promise. Standing up, Caseus turned back towards the nebulous and saw Liara and Pip waiting for him. Smiling, looking towards the future, whatever it may hold, Caseus rejoined his companions before stepping into the ship and taking off into the skies above.